my plan to Manila. Passenger sitting row to row. The flight staff.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you all. My name is Patrick Kaup, and today I'm going to be talking about an article called Cultural Identification in Second Language Pronunciation of Americans in Norway. The article is by Karen Liebeck. She's a professor at the Institute of Linguistics, English as a Second Language, and Slavic Languages Literature in the University of Minnesota. Okay. Her article focuses on a question as to whether acculturation has a direct correlation to phonetic affluency or fluency in the target language, which in this case is Norway. She includes a guy named Milroy's social theory network in combination with Schumann's acculturation model. Her first modification to Schumann's model is to exemplify data that illustrates network theory into pronunciation acquisition. The second is to show how L2 pronunciation, the second is to show the degree of L2 pronunciation, and lastly she analyzes data to show the relationship between L2 pronunciation and acculturation. After stating the modification, she outlines the acculturation model and the social network theory. She talks about the notion of social and psychological distance, bidirectionality of culture, and operationalization via the social network. She then goes on to discuss the purpose of the study, the research questions, and I have to show you this because I was so enamored at this sort of attention to simplicity. There's a section called research questions, and there they are, 1, 2, 3. I love that. Love that, because it's so rare. And then finally she discusses the methodology, which consists of a sample of 9 American adult women in Norway. And then she discusses the results of her finding. So, in short, she found that there was a correlation between L2 pronunciation of Norwegian and the degree of acculturation for the 9 participants that she studied. She found that those with easier access to Norwegian culture became more proficient in the pronunciation of Norwegian phonemes. Pronunciation, big distinction. Okay, she also found there was a correlation for one of the participants and her lack of acquisition of the Norwegian pronunciation because she felt that learning Norwegian took away from her American identity. Of the 9, she was the only one that resisted, had the higher filter that we talked about before, the acquisition of the Norwegian pronunciation system. The others had varying degrees of resistance depending on their social networks. But they were mostly due to awkwardness in the acculturation process. And something that she also brought out was that Norwegian culture is very restricted to those that are not Norwegian. So those that were accepted into the Norwegian part of the whole acculturation process, not just accepting Norwegian culture, but actually being accepted in the culture and part of the bidirectionality, were almost given loads of information about pronunciation, correction, and all those things that help one become more proficient when they're acquiring language. And the few who were mostly acculturated had the least dis-ease from engaging in the L2 discourse because of their integration. The participants that had the greatest ease in the acculturation were granted access to the Norwegian culture through marriage to a Norwegian husband, which is like almost a nuclear acculturation, that you're dealing with somebody that is an integral part of this culture. So yeah, in conclusion, she found that there was a correlation between acculturation and pronunciation. I really appreciated this article for the way it was constructed. It was very clear what she was talking about. It was very clear, her questions were very clear. Her methodology was drawn out very clearly, and her findings were drawn out very clearly. The only critique or bad critique that I would give it, and I wouldn't even call it bad, is that she only had a sample of 9 people. That's good for a micro sort of analysis of a situation, but it doesn't really speak towards broader theories about acculturation and pronunciation or whatever facet of language is being drawn out.